Good day, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Eureka, the Winside podcast, brought to you by the Winchester Research Club. My name is Ahmed, hosting this session for you, and co-hosting this session with me is Nay, Talha, and Ibtisam. Welcome to the episode, guys.
We have a very special episode today. Ibtisam, do you want to tell us why the episode is special?
Yeah, number one, we've also got the technical team, Ane, and also Catherine on the back. And so our special episode today, we've got a really special guest, our physics teacher, Mr. Nisar,
Welcome
who's
to
on
the
my
show,
right.
Mr.
So
Nizar.
welcome. All right, so today we're going to be talking about many topics. So, sir, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, students. First of all, thank you for your initiative for doing this kind of an activity as a part of Science Week. I'm very happy to be with you, and I'm very happy you are taking a lot of new things that is introduced in our school. And this is the first science podcast. Okay, what you have to talk, Talha?
Sir, I think I'd like to ask you a few questions because you are a physics teacher,
Yeah.
and we'd like to dive into the topic of physics as well as comparing with other subjects, biology and chemistry. So, sir, a very important question I'd like to ask you is, where is that line being drawn, and how is physics different from chemistry and biology?
Yeah, that's a good question actually.
Yeah.
Physics is actually science started with physics because physics is very common. We can see that, we can touch it, and this is something which we always develop. We call the last century was the century of physics because the development like something steam engine was thinking as one of the best development, and physics is almost done. Then we had electricity, then we had Einstein's rules, we have Einstein law. So every decade physics is developing and developing, and we never think that physics can stop at any
It is
point.
constantly evolving.
Yeah, it is a continuous growth, and you still have a lot of opportunity, a lot of things to be developed. But one thing is not technology, it's theory. That's important. The theories which you developed are actually made all the technology. So you have to think. All those people who change the world, they thought something, and they made the change. So you still have the power of thinking because you are right. You can think more. Now you thought about this particular program, and that made all the change. So you can think more and more, and you can even make more changes. That's what physics basically, theoretical physics.
But my question is, there have been many great scientists in the past. There have been Einstein, Newton, many, but is there any space left for any new theory, or is it getting more and more, is physics getting capped almost? Because is there any space left for us as
That would be the question which asked maybe 19th century even. When Newton has developed something, people might have done, okay, all the gravitational force, everything is already explained by Mr. Newton. Is there anything scope more for physics? It's almost done. When we had Einstein in the beginning of 20th century, he completely rewrote all the things. Now the things are changed. Now we are thinking again, is there any scope for one more scientist? Every time there is a scope, and scope will be always there.
I
We
think
have
as,
to think,
as
yeah.
time goes, you have technology, right? And you have more and more technology coming in, and with these new technologies, you need these theories that are going to form the base for these new technologies. And as time progresses, people are developing new and more things, right? You have new technologies coming in, and for each of these technologies, you might have different theories. And
Yeah.
what else? What more?
Also, every time a scientist comes with a theory, another scientist can disprove the theory and come with their own type of theory. Also.
And
Yeah.
also the thing is, every time one new theory comes, you have something like 10 other questions.
Yeah.
So in answering those questions, you get more theories and more questions,
Yeah,
and it keeps
exactly.
expanding.
It's like a
So
tree
it's
branch
this-
that keeps going and going.
Yeah,
There's more
it's pretty
branches
much this
forming, basically.
exponential kind of
Exactly,
curve of
yeah.
knowledge where we keep increasing in what we know.
Okay, yeah.
So right now, I feel like, I had a conversation with one of my friends, and right now physics is directing towards astronomy and cosmology.
Quantum physics.
But now I want to talk about an issue. Scientists and these physicists are really exploring deeper and deeper into space. And of course, it requires a lot of money, a lot of financial assistance, billions and billions of dollars going into satellites. So the question that struck my mind was that shouldn't these billions and billions of dollars, we're trying to find habitable planets, why not fix the Earth first?
Yeah.
Why are we trying to find, why are we expending so much brain power trying to understand time when we can be spending that brain power on, trying to end world poverty, trying to end, world suffering? So I see it to that point. I mean, is physics really the solution to to many of the problems that we face in this world.
What do you think, Talha?
I do think there's a lot of money being invested into, finding out these different sort of species and finding out if there's extraterrestrial life outside. I mean, I do agree with it to some that amount of money, brain power, time, productivity can be pressured into improving our own lifestyle on Earth or helping people with poverty. I think the real question is this necessary to go and find out other species that may live outside of Earth?
The idea is that every time before, once the US started to explore into moon, the same question was asked. Why we are exploring to moon? We can be stayed here. Why you are wasting the nation's money for that? You could have spent that money for some other purpose. But the problem is that if that exploration was not there, even whatever the development we have in electronics, whatever development we have in our transportation, all those because of those research.
Yeah.
They're not researching for a one point of view. If you wanted to go into the world, or if you wanted to go somewhere, some planet, you need to develop a lot of other technology which you require for that. You need to make a lot of research for that. Those research output are not only useful for that purpose, it is also useful for the entire development of our world. And we need to find solution because we don't know what's going to happen for Earth. We need to think about it. Okay, later on, if something happens, we should have a solution for that. So we need to spend some money for that too. Of course, we need to spend money for the other things. But this is also part of it. If we are not developing, we are just stop our thinking, just to stop our developing. That means we cannot develop.
I think if we spend all our money on just the Earth, we'll never evolve. On technologically, we'll never evolve.
Yeah, the question is like, when I was researching this topic once, some time back ago, it's like, you know how humans, they say that originated from Africa, right? It's like if humans thought of improving Africa, just Africa only, and didn't plan on exploring the rest of the earth, our society would be a lot more backward. Like, so there's, in moving out of your home base, you start developing a lot faster. And
All right.
there was also this thing I was reading, I think a few days ago. It was this list by NASA. It was this 20. It was really nice. It said the developments that just moving to the ISS has developed, the International Space Station. So one of those was like water purification. So by exploring ways to purify water for the ISS, we have basically improved the water access in Earth itself. So these side technologies that come by going off from this, yeah.
And I think if you actually work on these external things, you somehow figure out a way that, this can actually help us. But if you directly work on, the place where you live, you might not even come up with such inventions.
Yeah, how can, see, we never have a problem of oxygen here. We always get oxygen here. See, a situation arises, we require oxygen. We never develop for that. But if we are going for another planet, we are trying to develop a technology which help us to produce oxygen or to create something, some kind of artificial environment where we can live. So this development may help us later on, we don't know about it. So we cannot just think about only one point of view, we have to think that what are the external development, what are the other development associated with that.
And so another thing was, we noticed in your teaching style, especially in A level, that sometimes when people are not interested in science, you make an interest in physics.
Yeah.
I wanted to know how do you sort of make an interest in physics? Number one, I never had an interest in science in general, but it was over time, maybe AS level or A level, really that's how interest sort of started.
See, first of all, it's not making interest. We have that interest now. We have that interest.
Yeah.
The only thing is that if the correct things are come to us, and we see that, okay, there are a lot of factors which make us improve, make us to focus, because you are the developing age. At the age of 15, 16, you are not much thinking about your future.
Right.
You are just thinking about the present, and you want to enjoy the present.
So,
But once the days are going on, you will identify where I am actually, what's my main agenda. So during that time, you create your interest, So now you are creating interest in science means it's not somebody made, it actually coming from you. So what we as a teachers are trying to do is We are just trying to make that spark. That spark is what our
So it's already inside us.
already is there inside you.
And sir, would you say that you enjoy creating that spark within your own students?
Of course, because what is my role, right? That's what my role. What I can do is that I can create that interest among you because I have that interest. But I have limitation to go beyond whatever I am doing now. So what I can do is that I can just make those interest in many other people. So maybe those will develop better than me or better than what I could.
Are there like key signs that you look for when you want to when you know that a student is interested in physics? Are there any special characteristics or traits that
In
you
physics?
see in students? In general, for students who are interested in science careers and stuff like that.
I cannot tell any special trait, but of course you have to be curious and you need to think much about the science, and you already doing that one.
So where do you get your passion from?
Passion is from students only. You, the students, are given the passion to me because I have seen the students are developing after creating that physics lessons, and students are going for physics and they are developing a lot, and students are coming back. So the passion is always coming from students. Okay, you were thinking about physics, and you wanted to know more about the futuristic physics branch. What do you think? Which would be the most futuristic physics branch? Or maybe by the time of your job or profession, you think what would be the most important development in physics?
Definitely these sort of wormholes in space.
Quantum physics, I suppose.
You know, these wormholes, like for example, we could go from one.
Recently, NASA has discovered a picture of a black hole, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the first step. Yeah.
So we could have these, like, maybe they discover these sort of wormholes
Yeah.
where we go into like Earth, we're in Earth and we go into this wormhole
Yeah.
and then we end up in another habitable planet. Like, I feel like that right now is just theory, but could be possible.
Don't you interested in this kind of development which these millionaires they are developing in the field of space journey, space travel, space tourism? Now with Elon Musk
Jeff Bezos,
and you said Richard Branson, all those who are depositing a lot of money for that. So means business people are always far-sighted.
Yeah.
They always look for something which are going to develop, right? So if they are spending a lot of money for this field, means there's some development is going to happen in this field, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they don't deposit all their money for that. So, what do you think about it?
I think they're very aware of what they want to create, and they're also very aware that this is going to be a trend later,
Yeah.
or soon.
And even if it doesn't become successful, like if you go to Mars and you go into an environment, we might be able to learn from that and be able to respond to climate change here. For example, Mars has somewhat a climate that would happen to Earth if climate change took over and became worse, right? So we'll have the knowledge and technology to deal with climate change here, even if the Mars expedition fails. You get what I mean?
So, you think that the transportation which started from the normal, maybe the kind of cars, and then it changed it to trains, then it changed it for aeroplanes. Now is the next is space travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So space travel means you can travel from US to Europe within 1 hour or less than that.
Perhaps
Because you
travel-
are all the way going to the space, then you are not traveling at all. You are waiting for you reach into the US or somebody.
Yeah.
So that would be the next.
Maybe like a portal, you open a door and then you enter Europe.
Yeah, Elon Musk
That
proposed
is
the
all
Hyperloop.
science fiction.
Yes.
though.
It's from a movie. It's from a
Complex.
movie.
Yeah.
Not that much as of now, but at least like we can go to the space.
Uh-huh.
Once we go to the space, there is no resistance for us for
Yeah.
our movement
Yes.
because no air resistance. So you can travel very fast,
Yeah.
faster than anything you imagine. So it will take only maybe few minutes to reach from Europe to US. Then you are just coming back to US.
I think at this point, air travel or travel as time moves forward is going to be more for entertainment rather than personal reasons. I think if anyone actually did want to go from one place to another, they would, prefer a more basic technological way to go there. Because if you think about space travel, right, going all the way up to space and then traveling to another destination with no air resistance would decrease the time. But going up to space and coming back from space itself would also increase the time at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of things that have started, start from an interest perspective, from people being hyped up about it. For example, if you just take the invention of aircrafts and stuff, people were just interested to know what it's like to fly, what it's like to see
Yeah, for the
from
experience.
More for entertainment purposes at this point
Yeah.
than personal reasons.
Yeah, and then it suddenly developed so much that the whole world is connected by aircrafts now. So That's, I feel like everything big starts with some sort of interest or like by the public.
To move on to a different topic, we've learned that in your class you told about modern physics, and before that it was
Classical.
Classical physics.
Yeah.
So how has it evolved, and how is it still evolving?
See, classical physics was only thinking about what happening in Earth, technically.
Yeah.
At that time, we were thinking only about that. So we need to explain why it is happening. It's not like we have heard a story about apple has fallen down, and just because it's fall on his head, Newton has developed the gravitation law. It's not like that. It's like the apple fall down. He observed it. He was thinking about it, why it is, and developed it because he wanted to explain a reason which happened on Earth. So at that time, the thinking perspective was only to explain the things which are happening around Earth and to develop something which help us. But once the modern physics started, we are thinking beyond it. Whether the same thing which are happening in Earth is similar which are happening around the universe. When we think in that perspective, we understood things are different. So Einstein thinking was a little more difficult way, little more high level of mathematics, and he understood whatever happening in Earth is only one frame of reference. But we cannot explain the entire universe with the single frame of reference. We require a larger frame of reference, so we made the classical physics change to modern physics, where we have a lot of different mathematics and different ideas. And the simple difference is the gravitational force in what we call a gravitation force is a force in a classical physics, while if it is coming to the modern physics, it just changed it to be one deviation only. Okay, it's not a force. It's not a force anymore.
And you also mentioned that it's not only focused on Earth. Now you have modern physics focusing on astronomy as well as on Earth, because now you have physics as a base for medical physics.
Yeah.
You have physics as a base for atmospheric sciences.
Yeah.
And many other things where physics is a base, and it creates many other branches.
Yeah, of course. It doesn't mean that we are just going beyond that. It means that we are seeing all the perspective.
Yeah.
So more difficult. It going to the micro world, it's going to the macro world, and we are explaining it in better way, so that there are no more questions arise. But when we are explaining, see, science is always the what we call the pursuit for the truth. We never reach to the truth. We're still searching for the truth. What is the correct explanation for everything? So science is always searching for it. We can tell in a philosophical view, still we are searching for the truth. We cannot tell ultimately this is correct. We can never tell in physics this is the exact correct. It may change. Now we are telling that the fastest speed possible is speed of light.
Yeah.
We don't know. It may change later.
We may never reach there actually. If you think about it, we might never actually know everything there is to know about the world. But in looking for this truth, we learn so much more, and we can progress humanity.
Yeah, I have to ask you a question. What is making you interested in physics now? Like each one, like Ahmed.
Well, I wasn't actually really into it as much before, but researching for this podcast and reading a few articles, there's a lot to like about it. But I feel like I'm not, personally, I don't feel like physics is my genre of science. I feel like I'm not really into the mathematics side of it. I'm more interested in the smaller scale, biological kind of side. But I'm really passionate about physics. I really like reading about it and that kind of thing.
More of the
Yeah.
physical physics than the
Yeah.
theoretical abstract physics.
Yeah.
For me, I love that scientists or people have a chance to come up with their own theories. The physicists observe the world and they sort of come up with their own theories, and that's what I really like about physics is you need to use your brain. I mean, as Ahmed said, I really dislike anything to do with maths, anything to do with numbers. I'm against that. So, so that aspect of physics, yeah, I'm more of a biology guy. But physics, the concept of coming up with your own theory by observing, space, that I really find that really interesting.
Yeah, what about you, Talha?
I think that interest in physics starts when you actually gain knowledge, because interest only develops when you have knowledge about something, or when you start seeking knowledge. You can't say, oh, I like fishing, when you don't know anything about fishing, right? And
I think I gained my interest in physics from my teachers also. Whenever they explain something, my mind just gets completely blown. And I understand things better. So it helps me critically think about the problem a lot. That's why I'm interested in physics.
So each person can make a difference.
Yeah.
Faraday made a difference, and Newton made a difference,
Yeah.
Einstein made a difference. There was 100 people around them at that time also. The same classmates, there were many other students, there were many friends, they couldn't do that. That means each one of you think in that perspective. Maybe I am the one who is going to change things.
Yeah.
One person's power. Why the other person is not doing? Because you are thinking about it. If you think more and more, you may develop, because your brain power is, we don't know what is the power actually. So once you use it, you will develop something. So the only thing that whether you are going for it, whether you are interested, whether you want to read more, but before you are researching, before you are doing anything by your own, you should have a good knowledge, as he told very correctly, Talha. You should have excellent knowledge about the subject. You should read a lot about it. You should have seen a lot of video about it, so that you know that these are the development already done. Now I have to go to something new. Then only you will get into that.
So when you were a student in your school days, I mean, what did you like about physics? Like, how did you develop your liking for physics?
See, likeness towards physics is just because of, as you all told, what we can do in physics. That would be the first question every student will think about. It's not like the grade, it's not like the subject mark you are getting. More of that, what we can do. That was actually made us to move towards the physics. But everyone may not be successful for developing that. It's okay, but you still can develop that interest. You can still enjoy one other person is developing something in physics.
I feel like learning about physics can really like expand your perspective on life. For now, like if you just don't learn about physics, you will think that all there is to life is just Earth and there's nothing else beyond it. But if you really learn about physics, you learn that Earth is in the solar system, which is in the cosmos, and the Milky Way, and so on. You see that you're just a small thing in this very big picture, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that could really, really expand your philosophical opinion on life at the same time.
And that's exactly what I was going to do next.
Yeah.
So we've got all these findings in physics,
Yeah.
and so I wanted to know your views on religion. Can religion and science be together? Because in my opinion, they do go hand in hand.
Religion and physics are two different things. Okay, we cannot ever compare them. One is belief.
All right.
One is belief. You cannot question beliefs, because beliefs are beliefs. You cannot question it.
Yeah.
Okay, because you are believing something means you have to believe it.
Yeah.
You don't believe in that, you don't believe it. But science is facts.
Yeah.
You should, because that they are fact. So
Yeah.
that fact you have to follow, because if you are riding a car, you need to make sure that if somebody is passing across you, you should apply brake. That's a fact. That fact you cannot deny. You cannot tell that, oh, I don't do the brake. You cannot do that, because it's, it's based on the evidences, and that's how it develops. And we have to believe that if we apply brake, the car will stop, because we have that strong understanding. Okay. In case of belief, you think that okay, it may happen. You should have the strong understanding. Okay, it may happen, but the second person may not have. So the belief may change one person to another person, but the science would be same for everyone.
But I feel like it can be linked in the sense that you could use the scientific method and apply that to just improving your personal development. Like in science, you question, and then you look, and then you have a conclusion, and you can question the conclusion. You keep cycling through this. You could use that into your personal development. If you want a place where it overlaps, that might be one potential place.
Even when I read a book, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, you might have heard the Sherlock Holmes series, very famous. There is something called the science of deduction. He is telling science of deduction. If he's found some person, he will tell about that person, because he's deducing that from the person. Whatever the evidence available from the person, he is trying to deduce it. It's a science.
Using observation.
Yeah, it's observation. And physics and science are actually based on those observations. Your scientific deduction.
Yeah.
All right.
Got it. And about belief, they believe. You're just believing it. So somebody given you some information, you are believing it. Both are two different aspects. You can link as long as you are a strong believer. You cannot link if you are not a believer. That's it.
It's very, very subjective.
Very, very subjective.
Very subjective. Yeah.
Science is more.
It's evidence based, it's clear, it's simple to understand.
Okay.
We were discussing one time, Farah was our friend, he told us the time is actually not real, it's an illusion. What do you think about that?
Time is one of the factors. Obviously, time, we have a 4-dimensional world, and time is something which we explain the world in different point of view. Like, if you can just imagine a circle, where is the start point of circle? Where is the end point of circle? You're just circling and circling and circling, right? You cannot exactly tell there was a start point, there is an end point. You're just circling.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as you don't know when it starts, as long as you don't know when it ends, there is no start, there is no end. At any point you cannot explain this was the start, this was the end. So we are always searching for the start and end. And that is because of our limitation. We always have seen start and end. If somebody asks you, just imagine nothing, you cannot imagine nothing.
Yeah.
You always imagine something very dark or black. You are not actually imagining nothing. If you are asked to imagine the end of universe, you cannot imagine. You just think about again the darkness and the black or something. This is our limitation sometimes. So that's the limitation for we to understand some of the concept which maybe some other person is explaining properly. So, but we have to go beyond that limitation. Then you can develop more and more. Maybe everyone can go, or everyone may not go. That depends.
Alright guys, so now that I mean it's ironic that we've been talking about time, but time has elapsed where school is almost nearly going to end. So this was an amazing episode. Thank you very much Mr. Nizar for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed this session. I've had a lot of fun discussing these topics with everyone. I mean, yeah, it's been amazing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we're definitely gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how you are discussing more and more when you get the time. This is maybe a professional discussion, this may be an official discussion, but you can always have an amateur kind of discussion where also you are thinking the same point of view. That will change your perspective, definitely. Thank you so much for all. Thank you so much for all those who are listening.
We'll see you next time.
All
See you
right.
guys.
Thank you guys.
That's a wrap for this.
All right. Yeah, that was awesome.